Good morning and welcome to the Morning Spotlight Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Ham, coming to you as always from the Spotlight Studios in Morristown, New Jersey. We got a great episode again today. That's all we do is our great episodes. We have Kristjan Sokoli. He's a former NFL player and financial advisor in training at Merrill Lynch. Kristjan, welcome.
What's up, Michael? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on. So I want everybody to get to know you a little bit because, I got a chance to talk to you last week and, really enjoyed the story. So let's learn a little bit more about you. So let's take us through, we'll go childhood first. We'll start from the very beginning. So take us through that.
First of all, I love the background. I got to just say that.
Thank you.
The only thing I would add maybe is a Bruce Springsteen picture, but that's up to you.
That's actually, I'm going to write that down. That's a good point because all the other, it's a whole Jersey theme, right? Except for my face over here, but right. You got to have Bruce.
Yep, got to have Bruce. What was the question again?
Let's talk about the childhood. So let's get to know you a little bit, and then as we get further and further, we'll get to more stuff that's current, I guess.
For sure, man. I was born in Albania. It's a country in Eastern Europe. It's borders Greece and Montenegro. For those that may know, it's east of Italy. To give you a little idea of it, north of Greece. Lived there until I was 9 years old, and then my parents moved here one by one. My father moved here when I was 6, and my brother was 2 at the time, or 5. Brother's 1, yeah. And then my mom moved here 2 years later. And then a year after that, me and my brother Mark moved to the States, landed in JFK, and I was 9 and he was 5 at the time. And then we lived in New Jersey. Since then, I went to school at the University of Buffalo, but we'll keep it a childhood for now.
Yeah. So you, what made your parents move from Albania to here?
Really, Michael, is to seek a better life. It's the same reason a lot of immigrants move to this country for many years, to seek a better life, to seek more opportunity, more personal freedoms. Yeah,
absolutely. So both your parents moved here, and then you and your brother came over after they were already here. So
yeah, my dad moved here first, and he filed for political asylum. Actually,
okay,
trying to do it the right way and get his papers aligned so that he could bring us over legally.
Right.
And my mom actually, interestingly enough, she got to come here. Well, it's a sad thing, but it was nice that she got to come and be reunited with her husband. Her father passed away, and she was granted a visa to come for the funeral. Yeah, and then she was able to stay because my dad could be wrong, but I think something along the lines of my dad was in the legal process of not citizenship, but getting a residency here.
Right.
And because of everything here, she was able to stay. And then about a year later, my dad got residency, and I gave him also the right to get me and my brother over. Yeah.
Okay, so you came here when you were 9. So what was that transition like going from Albania? Because my grandma immigrated here when she was 12, I think, and she didn't speak any English. She was an Italian immigrant. Came over right after World War II was over. Was living in the mountains after the Nazis bombed her town, all this stuff. So what was that transition like?
Similar to your grandma's, probably. I didn't speak English. Everything, the culture was a shock, obviously. The way of life was a little different. The way that kids interacted and played was a little different. So it was definitely an adjustment, but a good adjustment as well. I remember a lot of positive notes as well. Literally, it sounds silly maybe, but the first night or two in America, I remember we went to ShopRite, and I was just like, man, this is like Candyland. How is there so many things that you could want all in one place? That was really cool. So that was just one example. Obviously, the standard of living was better, and yeah, it was exciting, but it was also at the same time just as challenging.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So then, so you're here. Where in New Jersey did you guys move to when you moved here?
Bloomfield,
okay.
New Jersey, yep. Mm-hmm.
And then I think you went to Bloomfield High School, right?
I did, yep.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And then obviously, we're going to get to more of the football stuff, but what got you into football aside from being, a big guy?
Right. That's kind of part of it too. I was playing soccer, and I love soccer. I still love soccer, play some goalie on the weekends, but yeah, I was in middle school, and I remember watching my cousin play. He was a great player at Bloomfield High School, and I looked up to him. I was like, wow, he's the captain of the team, and I loved the way he played. He played with a high energy, and he really resembled like with the way he played the violence and the physicality of the game. And that really drew me, honestly. That I was always a competitive kid and always enjoyed sports and being active. And I think I was really drawn to the physicality of the game and the intensity of the game. I loved that it was like we work all week for one day, you know,
Yeah.
one big game. I kind of like that, you know.
Right.
And so yeah, my cousin, you know, he was a big motivator kind of in the beginning. I remember he brought me to my first practice for the Bloomfield Bengals in 7th grade. Probably was the worst kid in the team. Expected to play quarterback, and I was playing left guard,
Yep.
which I think is really kind of funny looking back because I ended up playing left guard for the Seahawks for a little bit.
Right.
And it's just kind of funny how my coaches in 7th grade were like, "Nah, you probably should go to guard." And it's like the NFL was like, "Oh, you think you're at the end? Nah, you probably should go to guard."
Yeah. That's just where you fit, I guess. Well, I played.
No, I'm looking back, honestly, I can see what they saw. You know, as much as I wanted to be a DN and get the sacks or a quarterback and throw touchdowns, but
Right. Yeah, the glamour spots, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I played because I moved to Sparta right before high school started, and I was going to a new school, didn't know anybody, so I was like, I'm going to play football. I'd never played football before. I was like 5'6", like 145 pounds, like this tiny little, you know, baby basically, and they made me play offensive and defensive line. I mean, I didn't play because I stunk, but I was on kickoff and kickoff return. I was like the ready down guy on the kickoff. And like, that was like my big moment to shine during a game. And that was it. Never played again after that. But I mean, I did enjoy it. It was just, you know, like a little bit different for me, I guess. But
no, for sure. Honestly, to be direct, it's like, it's hard to stick to something when you're playing something that is not like, you know, it doesn't go in line with your strengths and your body size, you know?
Exactly. Yeah,
right.
right.
I've seen those high school guards. I've seen some guards in high school that are like really good players and like 5'10", 200 pounds, 190 pounds because they have really good leverage and technique. But I'm like, man, like you deserve this. Like you work hard. You love the game. Like good for you. You know?
Right. So after Bloomfield High School, you go to University of Buffalo, play football there. Take us through that experience.
Yeah, probably one of the most exciting points in my life up to, you know, honestly, besides finding out that I'm going to go to America and reunite my parents and all that good stuff, which was obviously awesome. That was probably right after that. As far as level of excitement, I remember playing Madden in my basement, my parents' basement. And I was a big Madden player, big NFL films watcher. Like football was kind of my life, honestly. And yeah, I was playing Madden, and Coach Carter calls me and he says, "Moose, I think Buffalo's going to offer you a full ride, so hang on tight there. They're going to call you soon." And it was late in the recruiting process. It was, I think, late January. There was only a few weeks left till signing day. I was looking at walking on to Rutgers or Division II or maybe prep school. So hearing that was like, whoa, like that was exciting. And then, they told me over the phone they want to bring me up for a visit the next weekend. I was trying to commit on the phone, but Coach Ernest Jones, I remember at the time, was like, no, we need you to just make your decision up this weekend. You don't have to tell us now. But I had heard so many horror stories about losing your offers or scholarships. Yeah. And I was like, I know, but I just need you to know that I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, right.
I remember thinking I have no clue where Buffalo is. I was like, I know it's in New York, but New York is kind of big.
Yeah.
But I was just like, yeah, I'm going to Buffalo. This is sick. And I was just, pacing around my house. My mom was kind of like, couldn't believe it. It was really cool. And then me, my parents, and my brother got to go up on the official visit to Buffalo. And Jeff Quinn offered me, and I accepted. He spilled his coffee, too, while he offered me.
Because he was just so nervous because he knew that he had, a steal. That's right?
Exactly. He's like, I know I've got a steal here.
Yeah. So, he got all flustered probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Buffalo was honestly, it was super exciting. And it was the most exciting thing I had done at the time and the hardest I'd worked. And I remember Coach Pissarro in high school telling me that, and that stuck to me. He said, college football, he's like, it's going to be the greatest thing you've ever done, the most exciting, and also the hardest you've ever worked. And I couldn't put it a better way, and that's what Buffalo was.
Yep.
And I think the weather really resembled that too, with the snow and the long winters.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like I told you, I lived in Rochester for almost 3 years. And I would go out to Buffalo for recruiting trips and whatever when I was coaching baseball. And I always liked Buffalo. I wish I got a chance to go there a little bit more, go to Duff's, get some wings, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But the winters were always a challenge for sure.
They are a challenge. But
Yeah.
honestly, yeah, as you know this, it builds to the character of the town and the
Right.
mentality of the community. It's like people just kind of embrace it and they take it on and they're tough about it. Things don't close up. I think my whole time there, we closed school at UB one day.
Yeah.
And we had, 7-8 month winters
Right.
every
Yeah.
year. So I
Yeah.
think that's kind of cool too. And I think it's like the only city where I'm sure there's other cities up there too, but you go out in the wintertime and it's like 0 degrees, but bars are all packed and people are still in lines.
Yeah.
Women are still dressed up really nice as if it's actually 50 degrees.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
all
No,
about-
it's same. Yeah.
yeah.
I just, yeah, I just remember we had like the lake effect snow. I always thought was just so crazy because I remember we were supposed to have a kid come and visit, do like an on-campus visit at Fisher, and it was like Buffalo got hit with like 14 feet of lake effect snow, and it was literally like his street what got the snow, and then like the street next to him, like the next street over, got nothing. He's like, so I literally can't get out of my house, so I can't make it. But literally, the street over, isn't has nothing. It was crazy.
Is there any chance that was 2014?
No, I moved up there. Actually, I think I moved up there in the fall of 2014, and then was there until so fall of 2014, and I left in the winter almost of 2016.
Okay, because I remember the late fall 2014, we had a game canceled. Who was the team we were supposed to play? We had a game canceled, and we were going to be able to play the game after all with a crazy snowstorm. But the other team's equipment manager decided to be stubborn and take like a certain road. And they told me, they said, don't take this path because this is a normal path, but it's going to get blocked off. And he's like, no, we're good. It looks good.
Yeah.
And then the other team had no equipment. We had a game canceled.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, all right. So you do your 4 years, I guess, at Buffalo. You get drafted by the Seahawks, right? What was that? I mean, that must be such a crazy experience. So you come here from Albania, right? 9 years old, don't speak any English, and then all of a sudden you're getting drafted to play in the NFL. What a ride,
It really has been a great ride, and every time I tell the story, I'm just like, man, I'm super privileged. I really am, and really fortunate to have had the opportunities that I've had. I mean, to start with coming to America, I didn't do anything to earn that. I was just lucky that I happened to have the dad that decided to make that decision, and then the mom that went along as well. And then, so I was just very fortunate. And then Buffalo as well, man. I mean, this too in sports. I mean, hard work means a lot, but there's things that go your way and that don't. And I'm really lucky that Jeff Quinn decided to offer me a few weeks before signing day. And then, fortunate that I was able to draw interest from the Seahawks. I was a defensive lineman, and they were really interested in me at offensive line. Naturally, me and my agent, Brett Tessler, we decided that, listen, we would play offensive line in the NFL, but only if we get drafted. It's a very aggressive move to try and learn offensive line at the professional level. So it's if you draft us and put that much faith in us, then we'll do it. And they ended up drafting us, and it was exciting. I was in my living room in Bloomfield, New Jersey. A lot of family around me, some friends as well. And it was really, really what I had dreamed of growing up as a kid. Very lucky that I got to experience that. It was very emotional and very exciting. Talk to Pete Carroll and John Schneider on the phone was super surreal. I was a huge football fan as much as I was a player. So it was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So then, I mean, I remember I was just actually before we got on here, I was doing some just research, right? I just typed your name into Google and saw what came up, and your I guess combine numbers, your 40 and some of your other stuff were just they were ridiculous for a guy your size, running a 4.84 40. I mean, are you kidding?
Yeah. No, I was really pretty good at that stuff.
Yeah.
Honestly, here, I'll show off a little bit because this is where it started. This is why I had those numbers, and I really don't need to show off my medals. Those are my high school track medals, but that's probably the award I'm most proud of in my whole career. It's weight room lifter of the year in 2013 at University of Buffalo.
Nice.
And a handful of teammates that I can easily think of that were just as deserving of me, if not more, because we really had some war daddies up there. We had some hardworking big guys especially. But, I mean, and it came from that, Zach Duvall in the weight room. And I also had a great trainer, in high school that I worked with personally, Andre Reed. and he has Pinnacle Fitness right now, which you guys can check out. I think he's in Belleville right now. So yeah, I have to mention these because that's where those numbers came from. Obviously,
Right.
I'm gifted genetically as well.
Yep.
You know, I always say I didn't work for these calves as much as I would like. But no, yeah, it's those. I always my work ethic was always most important to me. It really was.
Yep.
I feel like I never cheated a rep, but I was also extremely fortunate genetics wise, and I had some great people that I work with. And I feel like that my pro day was kind of it was really neat that I got to show all that, put it on paper, kind of, and
Yeah. Right.
yeah.
Absolutely. So then, so take us through like a little bit of just like the NFL experience. So I think you were in the NFL for 3 years, right?
Yeah, 3
Yeah.
years, and then one more year in injured reserve.
Gotcha. So it was the Seahawks. Then who'd you play for after the Seahawks?
Yeah, I was with the Seahawks for a year. I actually made active roster that entire year, which is really
Awesome.
cool with the
Yeah.
offensive lineman the first time. That was really exciting. And then the next season, I got released in training camp, competitive. No other reason,
Yep.
just guys. They drafted 3 other guys and brought in some other guys, as most teams would at offensive line.
Right.
Those guys outperformed me in that training camp, and I really just didn't get consistent enough. And then, I'd have great spurts of like make great plays. It takes time. Offensive line really takes
Yep.
time to learn too. It's a really tough position.
Right. Learning a new position at like the highest level,
Great challenge. It
Yeah.
really was. And I'm proud of myself. I really am for making the active roster that first year. At the same time, yeah, I'm a little hard on myself for not being more consistent, but it was what it was. A really tough challenge, the second year.
Right.
But when it came down to, they wanted me to stay on the practice squad to learn offensive line and really develop an offensive line. But me and my agent both felt like we gave offensive line a chance. Defensive line is what comes more natural to me, and that we just had a better shot playing D line. So then we went to the Colts. We didn't go. They picked us up. I was home for a couple weeks.
Yep.
And then Colts signed me. I went and played in their practice squad. Actually did really well in their practice squad. Was strong throughout that season. I ended up getting activated to the active roster the last 2 weeks of 2000 and that would be 16. The last 2 weeks I activated to the active roster of D-line. And then the next June I got released by the Colts. They had a new GM, new staff kind of. So not to make excuses, I had kind of my chance, but that plays a part, of course.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Just happened to be the guy that they released when they needed to make space. And it was end of June, actually, which is really bad timing because every team has created their 90-man roster that they're going to training camp with. So, yeah, released there. And then the Saints signed me 2 days before training camp and said, we know you want to play D-line, but we like you at offensive line, and that's where we have a spot. So it's up to you. And can't say no to a job in the NFL kind of deal.
Right.
Even though it's funny because a year before that I said no to a practice squad job with the Seahawks, but that's because we wanted to try the defensive line thing. But now it was tougher because now I was a year older, and I had really kind of been humbled a little bit by being free agent for a month and a half at the time, or a whole month going to the training camp. So you get that opportunity. Went there after training camp with the Saints. Then they kind of said, you got a shot at O-line, but we see that you might be more a natural defensive lineman. And this is kind of the story, unfortunately, back and forth. So they put me on the D-line in the practice squad after training camp. And then they released me 2 days later. Nothing to do with me. They had a gunner go down. They're like, you're our last guy right now, so we're going to release you. But they said, we'll promise we'll bring you back. And then that season I worked out with the Giants and Jets as defensive line. The Giants actually worked me out at offensive line, but we asked them to give us a look at D-line as well. And then the Giants signed me. When the Giants were signing me, the Saints were actually also offering me to play offensive line, and I chose the Giants to play D-line.
Yep.
It was pretty cool because the Giants worked me out at O-line and D-line. They said, no, we see that he looks more comfortable as a defensive player, so we'll give you a shot there.
Yep.
I got signed there in 2017. Last week of the season of the practice squad, right before the staff was fired. Spagnuolo was the interim head coach.
Yep.
So, and then the new GM and front office came in. I actually survived that, off season of cuts, which was pretty awesome. And I was going to the training camp with the Giants in 2018 at D-line, and then tore my ACL. So that was I got a lot of breaks in my career.
Yep.
That wasn't one of them,
That was, definitely.
Yeah, fourth training camp in the NFL. First one where I got to play D-line in training camp, really have pads on in a competitive NFL environment. And, unfortunately tore my ACL there. So,
yeah, that sucks.
But, yeah, it does. Yeah. But that's part of sports, right? We talk about it. I got a lot of breaks, and that wasn't one of them. And then, I didn't get a chance after that. I rehabbed really well with the Giants. Giants just didn't re-sign me, and, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. All right. So, that must be, I've always found it interesting on like how guys transition from sports into I don't know, for lack of a better term, like corporate America, right? So you go through basically like your whole life, like this is your dream, you get your chance, you're doing your thing for a few years, and all of a sudden it's just kind of like taken away from you almost. So then, I can't really compare myself because it's like a much different scenario, but now you are out of the NFL, and then what do you do? Is it like a soul searching moment? How do you figure out which direction you want to go next?
It kind of is, man. Mike, I'm sure you can relate to it just more than you might think. You told me about how you played baseball and you coached baseball, and I'm sure it wasn't easy to give it up and go into title work, it's not nothing against title work. But
it's not baseball though.
Yeah, it's not baseball. It's not football. There's no championships. I mean, you create championships figuratively in different ways, but there's no preseason. There's no intense off season. There's no big time stuff. And yeah, you miss that. You miss the highs of the sport, even the lows, because it's like you miss the intense emotional ride that you get from athletics. And it is tough. There's no other way to put it. It's withdrawal for sure. I found peace, honestly, in kind of accepting that. Yeah, would it be nice to play in the NFL for forever?
Yeah,
you could, or MLB. Yeah,
right.
It does come to an end, and no, you really do learn to find joy in other things in life. I told you I play some goalkeeper on the weekends,
right?
And you learn to find different things that kind of excite me. For me now it's a lot of things, honestly. I'm sure you kind of went through this as well. I'm kind of doing a lot and probably more than I should, but I'm narrowing it down little by little to get to kind of the next thing.
Yeah. I the one thing that I will say that I definitely think that, it doesn't matter what level. I played Division III baseball and coached Division III baseball, and you're a Division I football player that played in the NFL for a few years, but it doesn't matter what level I don't think you play at. I think that the one thing that sports teaches you, especially in a moment like that, is a moment of adversity is just how to handle that, because that's what sports teaches you, right?
Absolutely. And even when right now I'm studying for the Series 56 exam, and it's not exciting stuff. It's a book about laws and all that, but I really do feel like I can channel back into that inner spirit where I'm like, oh man, I got 17 days left until this exam and I need to read through 300 pages.
Yeah.
There's no way in hell I'm not going to make it happen. It's just
right.
It's the grit that you really do get from sports, and you can get in other places as well. But yeah, guys like us, we learned that in sports, and it's cool. No, that's something that we get to keep forever, that competitive mentality.
Absolutely.
And getting things done, yeah.
What's that?
And yeah, just getting things done. I feel
we're
wired to be producers and to kind of create and to constantly make.
Right.
Whatever, you got to make something. And
absolutely.
I like it,
Yeah. So, all right, before we get into some of the other stuff that you've been kind of, trying out and working on and different projects and all that, what made you try to go down this road of the financial advisor and training process, I guess?
Yeah. I was a finance major in college, and I took a pretty strong interest in the stock market, even in high school. Generally speaking, it's not like I knew the ins and outs, of course, a high school kid, but I thought it was definitely exciting. And the more I learned about the markets and the free market and different economies, I really enjoy the free market. I really liked the principles that the stock market was built on, and public markets, and how everybody could own equity in a company, kind of coming from where I came from. And I don't want to sound like I lived through, communism, the hard times in Albania, because I didn't. I was fortunate not to. But hearing other people's stories that lived through it, I feel like the free markets now in America were really a resemblance of, man, this is what happened because so many people suffered through all those bad things. This is what we've kind of created. And it's not by any means perfect. There's corruption. There's things that can be fixed everywhere. Nothing is
Right.
perfect. But yeah, I really found an interest in the public markets and in free markets, and the fact that you can own any company and you can buy shares in any company and watch it go up and down. And I got into it in high school, and then I majored in college. And when I stopped playing for the Giants, and when I was going through that rehab, I was meeting with some people in New York City here in the area, and very fortunate to run into actually an Albanian community that was really helpful. Richard Lukaj, Sokoli, just to name a few guys that are accomplished in investment banking. They really helped me network and meet a lot of guys, and really they got me to start to think about what it is I want to do in the markets. Initially I thought it was investment banking because it seemed exciting, but they quickly kind of like made me see that financial advising is probably more so my route.
Right. Awesome. All right. So I like to talk about the stuff, that really makes you tick though. Because we were talking on the phone last week, and you asked me if you wanted to talk about this stuff or if I wanted to talk about this stuff with you, and I was like, we gotta know who Kristjan is, like what you're interested in, the stuff you enjoy doing. I mean, like I sell title insurance, but not that I don't enjoy title insurance, but I enjoy doing stuff like this, right? Like I enjoy a lot of other things outside of just like my 9-to-5 job. So you mentioned to me that you were really into acting. So what got you into that? And like, talk a little bit about that. We'll get more into it as we go.
Yeah. Since I was a kid, man, I remember always loving being on camera and goofing around. I was always a class clown, all that good stuff. I always like to, I feel like honestly make fun of serious stuff in life a little bit, to put it generally speaking, but I kind of like to test the boundaries a little bit. Like, you're like, oh yeah, why can't you goof off and screw, mess around sometimes, which can be taken to an extreme, and is not always a good thing for sure.
Right.
I'm finding there's a good balance between chaos and order. But yeah, let's not get too philosophical. It's never ending hole. But I was into that stuff as a kid, and I remember making movies with my middle school buddy Esteban. We thought we were making movies. It's pretty interesting watching that stuff now, but we definitely were trying to be the next Spielberg, and took television arts in high school. So I liked that stuff growing up. But I always had this weird, and I know it doesn't make sense because it's like, why don't you go to school for film? I always had this kind of like balance, or sometimes it felt like indecisiveness, where I liked both. I liked the finance field, and I loved, like the idea of like having a good job and having stability. But then I liked also the idea of, exploring my creativity and making film, being, in acting, being funny or goofy on camera. And so, after football, I really felt the pressure to kind of decide which one was me.
Yep.
And kind of go all in. And I think what I'm finding now is to not really put so much pressure on making that decision, but just kind of be responsible along the way and do both. But I say those very carefully, because not just do both kind of like mindlessly. It's definitely be responsible to my Merrill Lynch job, which is the most important, and make sure that, I take this exam and I pass this exam, and then make sure that I really know what I'm talking about, so I can help the people that I'm working with, and I'm responsible to them. But then when that is complete, the same way when you finish your title work, and I feel like this is kind of becoming an adult to put in the textbook.
Right.
Yeah, when that's complete, then you find out things that you do want to do. And then one of them for me is kind of acting and filmmaking. And if I get a chance to still mess around with that while having a career in financial advising, that would be really awesome. But I've honestly, Michael, I think this is a key point that I'm finding too. I've found peace in that might not happen, and that is completely okay. Maybe financial advising takes over my life a little bit, to the point where the only way I enjoy film is I get to go every other weekend and watch a good movie at the movie theater or whatever. And that's okay too, and that's kind of like, I found peace in that, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah. But you were in a movie, right?
Right. I was. So I'm already an accomplished actor.
Award-winning, accomplished actor.
I'm waiting for the Oscars. Fingers crossed. No, I was. That was really, really exciting. That was awesome. I applied for a bunch of roles through backstage.com. It's a little, casting website and all that good stuff. And I was really fortunate to meet New Zealand Sun Films. They're producers out of LA. They make independent films that are on Amazon. They make about 2 a year. And I was in their Devil's Island film, filmed in upstate New York, Thousand Islands. That's pretty freaking cool too,
Yep. Yep.
Upstate New York, man, it's a lot of opportunity for me up there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like your spot, man. I don't even know I don't know what you're doing here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if financial advising doesn't work here, I know where I got to move to. I gotta go
Exactly. Yeah. Like that's like the honey hole for you. So, so the movie you shot over the summer, right? In August?
Yep, in August, late August.
When's it coming out? Like where can we see
That's
it?
coming
Should we
out.
have like a preview,
Yeah.
like a premiere? Well, and we'll
Yeah,
invite all the Spotlight listeners and you and me and whatever.
that would be awesome.
Yeah.
I definitely would like to have a premiere party. I've thought about it. We'll see.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how many I can fit in my living room. I got 2 big dogs too, so that could be intense.
Yeah. But you're also doing you also have like a YouTube channel that I was flipping through. So talk about the stuff that you're doing with that.
Yeah, this spring summer, I reconnected with a friend from Buffalo, actually, who is also from New Jersey, small world. We were both business majors at UB. Brian, me and Brian, and we were friends in college, but not that close. Just kind of remembered each other. And we took space, I think, like a year ago, or 2 years ago, and I had my ACL injury, and he was going through an ACL injury as well in Japan, where he was teaching English. Now, his injury was not from teaching English; he was playing basketball. So I was mentoring him a little bit about how to do his rehab, and he was telling me how he's getting into film, and he was telling me about the film he's getting into and how he wants to do it. And I said, dude, I like film too. We should definitely do something. So he moved back from Japan to New Jersey this winter, and then we reconnected and we started a YouTube channel, Kristjan and the Korean. The name has drawn buzz for sure.
I'm sure, yeah.
But so yeah, that's been cool. Yeah, definitely been keeping busy.
And you guys just do like all sorts of stuff. I mean, I was scrolling through, I told you, and it was all over the place, and I loved it. It was great.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. We started with food reviews, but we definitely want to do more stuff. We want to do random stuff. We want to do fun content, try to make people laugh. I think what we want to try to do now, moving forward, and we haven't got to do much of it because, like I said, life, and I got this big exam coming up, so that's my main focus.
Yep.
Besides being on your podcast.
Right. Yeah. Obviously, naturally. So this is a big deal to come on the Morning Spotlight for sure.
Heck yeah, Morning Spotlight. No, I love it. I really do. And you're on it, so yeah, I really do. I like it. And for me, you're a great example for guys like me because you got a good job, but you also put in work in what you do on the side, and it's crisp, man. I've looked at your YouTube channel. I looked at your website. Shout out to the Morning Spotlight.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
I know that takes work because I've tried to do it myself.
Yeah.
And literally, even something as simple as consistent Instagram posts is like brute work when you try to really do it. It's like,
I know. Yeah. And obviously I have a whole staff of people, doing all this stuff for me because, this show brings in buco bucks and I'm paying everybody, and it's great, but no, I have to do all this stuff myself. And like you said, I mean, after a while you're just like, oh my God, it's like really just taking over my life.
Yep. And it makes you appreciate the work that has to go into it. Like the people that have a production company and they've made it to a certain amount of followers, they have people on salary that do that stuff. It's a lot of work. Yeah.
Absolutely. So then what's that?
Go ahead. I said, where are we at?
Oh yeah. So, we also you're, still staying involved in football in some different ways. So, giving back to your, alma mater at Bloomfield, so like broadcasting games. I think you said you were coaching a little bit. Talk about how that experience has been.
Don't make me feel guilty by saying coaching, because honestly, I would love to. I want to help those kids even more, but I show up once in a blue moon. Last week I showed up a couple of times. I'm gonna try to keep showing up as much as I can with life. But no, I really do. I almost feel a little guilty too, because I feel like that's kind of where my heart is. Like when I went back there and I coached the freshmen up, it was really rewarding and exciting to see myself and those kids. And I obviously could help them out a little bit because I played football for a decent amount of time, so I could tell them how to hold the edge or block outside zone. So that was really fun. But yeah, right now we're doing broadcasting. We're broadcasting the games. Me and David Fine, who is another BHS graduate alumni. He was a marching band kid, so in high school we would have never hung out. I was too cool for him, obviously.
Right.
But now he's the cool guy because he knows a bunch about broadcasting. So I'm like, David, how do you do this? How do you do this? This is so cool how production is, all this stuff goes into production. So yeah, he's leading the way on that, and I'm kind of just following along. And we're broadcasting VHS athletics, and we're hoping to keep doing it.
Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. It must be great to, just still be involved, and it almost
Yeah.
like kind of marries two of like your, passions, I guess, like
Yes, it really
broadcasting,
does. No,
football, the whole
it
thing.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And plenty
Yeah.
of times I'm like, man, I'm just trying to do way too many things all at once. But
Right.
as long as I stay responsible and I do my job, I'll make it happen.
Exactly. Yeah. I remember when I used to, when I worked at Fisher, I used to do, to like make a couple extra bucks on the side, would do like PA announcing for the basketball games and the soccer games and stuff. And that was like the first time that I've ever actually like been on a mic, like for real. And I always like had fun doing that. So I think that's like almost what kind of kickstarted this interest in this. Cause I always used to, like, when I was a kid, I used to play around with my parents' computer and like record myself. And I pretend like I was, like I said this on one of the other episodes, like Mike and the Mad Dog or something, like talking about sports on the radio, and and then like, never did anything with that. That was like 20 years ago. And then did the stuff at Fisher doing the PA announcing. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. And one of my roommates was a ESPN host in Rochester. So like, I always kind of like got an idea of like what he did. I'm like, oh man, like that's awesome. But then, it was like you were saying, like you want to make sure that you have like some level of stability with like a good job and make sure that you're actually able to support these passion projects that you try to put together, that way you could actually like support yourself and be self-sustaining,
Absolutely. And I definitely take some pride and accountability in that. Like I like the whole career and the corporate world thing. As weird as that might sound, because it is rewarding. It's rewarding in a different way.
Exactly. I definitely agree. All right. So we are going to move our show into the closing segment, which is called Under the Spotlight. We do this for every episode. So we talked about this before we got on. So hopefully you've thought about something. So we basically just learned just about everything there is to know about Kristjan Sokoli, right? We took you from basically birth to being on this show with me right now. So if there's one thing that you want the people listening to this episode to walk away with, what is that one thing?
To live your life your way and try your best to weed out the noise. It's really hard to do it, but it doesn't mean that you should definitely do what people are telling you. Don't just go out there and just do the opposite of what people are telling you to do, because that's not correct either. That's But just really try and figure out what makes you happy and find the balance between you should be responsible, like we talked about. You should be self-sustaining, I think, but you should definitely do what makes you happy, man, and live your life and try to give the world your authentic self. And it's a message that's been said many times before, but if I could say one, that's probably one that I'd say.
I love that. Authentic self is actually someone else. Lauren Hammer, we did a work-life balance episode. She's like, she has Hammer leadership. And that was one of the things that she said in her closing segment was just be your authentic self. And we got into this again, like this whole discussion on like how to find your authentic self. But like,
it's not easy to do that in itself, but
yeah, it definitely took me a long time. But like, as you could see, it seems as though like I'm moving closer and closer to what that actually is. So
absolutely. I would definitely say so, man. Yeah. Like, like what you're doing. I mean, there's so many people in title work that would say, oh man, get it together. Stop wasting your time. Like, be responsible. You could use this time to get more business. You could use this time to be more responsible as, all that good stuff.
Right.
And then there's people in entertainment that could say to you, oh, Michael, why don't you accept it for once and for all that you're not a corporate guy. Like, just go all out in your passions, man. You don't selling out for the money. And both are wrong. Like, you find out where the balance is for Michael. And it might be an extreme, but just find it for yourself. And,
awesome.
It's not easy. I don't expect it to be easy.
No, it's definitely not easy. I mean, I'm 30 years old and it took me a long time to even get to this point, so like it's still going to be a process. Everybody works through that process for a long time, for sure.
Yes. And you're kind of always working on it.
Yeah. You never figure it out. I don't think, you're always, it's always, it's always an evolution for sure.
Right. Earth is constantly spinning and moving, so we got to do the same.
Well said. I love that. I'm going to put that in the show notes. Earth is constantly spinning and moving, so you got to do the same. So awesome. Love it. All right. So that is going to wrap up our show. For everybody listening, I'm going to put Kristjan's contact information and his YouTube page and all that kind of stuff, so you get to learn a little bit more about him, send him any questions that you have in the show notes. So make sure you reach out to him if you do want to talk to him. I will also put the content information for the Morning Spotlight. So if you want to be a guest, if you want to hear us talk about a specific topic, make sure you email us at themorningspotlight@gmail.com or go to the website, themorningspotlight.com, and fill out the form, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Kristjan, thank you so much for doing this with us today. This was great. I really enjoyed this.
I did too, Michael. And thank you very much for having me, man. And thank you to your audience. I hope they keep supporting you. And I'm gonna follow along as well to the Morning Spotlight. Thank you.
Awesome. I appreciate that. And everybody else, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.